Hi, John with Mayco here. Today I'm going to take you into the world of element glazes. It's a very wide world with a huge variation in colors, styles, and finishes. So they're multi-tone glazes that all of them have a little bit of a different ebb and flow to them. So depending on the shape of the piece that you're using, you might find more than one color visible after our glaze is fired. So it's a family of glazes. Some of them are metallic, some of them are soft toned, some of them are opaque, some of them are translucent or semi-opaque, and many of them will react to things that are touching them, whether they're under or over the element glaze family. They'll also react differently on the type of clay body that you're using. So if you're used to using a terracotta or a red clay body, elements might look completely different than an artist that may use the same glaze on a white low-fire clay body. So all of these are a low-fire cone 05, cone 06 glaze. However, as you can see with the pieces in front of me, many of them have the look and feel of a high-fired stoneware pottery type glaze. So many low-fire artists use this glaze family to simulate the look of high-fired pottery. So let's take a look at the container that we sell our element glaze to you in. They come in the handy 4-ounce size as well as a convenient pint-sized bottle. But I'd like to draw your attention here to the label. When you're choosing an element, depending on what kind of look you're trying to get, it's important to find out if your element glaze is semi-opaque or opaque. Many of our techniques that you'll see on our website use colors underneath elements, so it's important that you choose the semi-opaque or something that's a little bit more translucent so that your artwork will show through. Now let me show you some of the different types of elements in that element family. I think people really enjoy the look of metallic. It's very stylish, it's very popular. This is one of our elements called Black Adventurine. So you can see as the light hits it, there's actually a little bit of a glimmer or a shine that has a metallic float that when this glaze matures at either cone 05 or 06, the float of metallic comes to the surface. So this is the Black Adventurine. And we also have our Copper Adventurine. This really shows off. It's like a copper penny that was thrown in the blender and chopped up, and those little bits of copper fleck come to the surface. Now if you do yard art or things that are going to have a bright light on them, this just comes to life in sunshine. So if you're making garden art, Copper Adventurine is a beautiful choice of a glaze. Then our other metallic glaze, this is called Burnished Steel. Now though it is metallic, it does have more of a matte finish. So it really has that aged pewter gunmetal type of look. So you can see how it glimmers in the light with a very high metallic, low sheen finish. So this is a really great example of a classic use of element glazes. Because they have a little bit of a movement to them, more so than say our foundation or stroking coat glaze line, you can mingle many different element glazes together on the same project. So if you look at the surface of this, you can see that we have dabbed several different colors of element. We've also used one of our element chunky glazes, which is an element glaze that has some crystals added to it, as well as a glaze modifier called Cascade that allows the element glazes to flow and move even more at a cone 05 and 06. So even though they're non-toxic, they will be a little bit of movement, and Cascades will enhance that movement. And we'll be showing you a little bit more of an example of the application of these glazes later on. Now, as I said earlier, some of the elements have a transparent or a translucent quality, but also elements are influenced by what is under them, over them, or whatever they're touching. So on this project, we used a black underglaze or a black stroking coat to create these oval designs, and then painted an element glaze over it. So you can see that the black is no longer black. It has more of an oxblood or a brown tone, and the element float is just lingering on the surface, so it gives that high-fired reduction look on a low-fire temperature. Elements also work very well with other products in the Mayco glaze line. This was using elements as the main glaze, but we've done a design with our stroking coat accent, which gives you a dimension, and we've actually dropped in a little bit of our jungle gem glazes in between, right on top of the element glaze. So already you can see a pattern that Elements work really well with many of the other products in the Mayco glaze line. This bowl, which was hand-built with a low-fire white clay, you can see how we've used two different glazes. And if you look closely, you can see I've illustrated here the two chips. This shows what this Jungle Gem glaze looks like on its own, and this is what the Element glaze looks like also on its own. But we've paired them together and layered them. So we've changed the look of both the Element and the Jungle Gem by putting a coat of one or the other under or on top of each other. So you can really bring in other glazes and create beautiful combination effects. So I also use the word reactive. Elements, because they have so much raw materials in them, they will react to other things. So let me show you this heart. This really illustrates a reactive quality to elements. So we placed 3 coats of our black foundation gloss opaque glaze, and then we put a generous amount, almost like a scoop and drop, a heavy dab of an element, let that dry a little bit, and then came back with another element color in the center, like a bullseye. During the firing of cone 05, you can see that it causes the elements to break open, spread apart, and they react to the black glaze itself. So you can achieve many different looks with choosing different elements, layering them on top of other foundation glazes. This is another really great example of using our white cobblestone on top of the burnished steel metallic glaze. So the raw materials in the element glaze leach up and actually stain or change the color of the white cobblestone to be a beautiful, natural looking patina style. So that's a really fun technique that you can alter the look of something that would normally fire white. Elements can influence it and change its color. Here's another example. This is our sculpting medium, and you can see we've put just one glaze, which is the patina element glaze, right over it, and you can see that the sculpting media also influence the look of the patina glaze. So where there is no sculpting medium, you have one shade of green, and where you have the sculpting media, it changed the color and it's completely different looking. So have some fun by layering different specialty glazes underneath elements for an unusual effect. So let's look at again how well elements play along with other Mayco glaze lines. For example, this dinner plate that I have uses elements along with cascades, and then the streaking and striping that you see on the surface of this plate was done with our stroke and coat glaze. But remember, with elements, they will always influence what touches them, what's under them, what's over them. So the stroke and coat itself has little tiny bubbly pattern to it, so you can see that there is a difference in how it would look directly on bisque or on something smooth as compared to how it works on top of something like elements that does have just a bit of movement to it. Now I am holding a dinner plate, so elements are labeled as food safe. However, some of them may have a surface characteristic that might be slightly textured. So any glaze that has a slight texture to it is not really recommended for use on dinnerware that you're actually going to have food and drink touching it. Now another example of the intermixing or mingling of different colors together. This starts out with a foundation glaze as a base coat, and on top of it we have done a pattern using our wax resist. And then we've just dropped and filled various brighter shades of element glazes. So if you look on the side of me here, we've got our element chart that really illustrates the wide range of colors in this palette. Even though it does mimic the high-fired look, which sometimes typically can be more earth tones, you'll notice that we've introduced things like brighter reds, oranges, blues, and greens. So you can intermix them to create beautiful, brighter looking pieces in a low fire look and still achieve the look of high fire pottery. Now, along with the glaze itself giving you a beautiful effect of floats of different colors as we spoke of earlier, you'll notice that when you're using elements, the shape or the style of the piece that you choose will also influence the fired finish. So let's look at this copper Adventurine piece once again, and you can see that because there's a lot of texture to the rim of this plate, where the glaze collects and pools in some areas, it may look one color, but where it is a slope towards the center, it'll actually puddle or pool or drip a different shade of color, all in the same bottle. So the shape can influence the fired color. Firing temperatures will also come into play here. So if your kiln generally fires a little bit hotter, you may have a little bit of a different color than you might see on the chip chart. So also the application, if you apply it heavier or lighter, but we know that you definitely want to always put 3 to 4 coats of elements to achieve a really rich, beautiful color. And there may be some movement, so you may want to stagger it back a little bit on the very lower edge of something tall so that you don't have anything running off of the piece. All right, so we've been talking about how wonderful the elements are for achieving that high fired look at a low fire temperature like a cone 05 or 06. But if you're a mid-range artist and you're used to using clay bodies that mature at cone 5 or 6, you can use elements at those temperatures as well. So I've got some examples here. This is our EL129 slate. Now this is what it looks like on low fire earthenware fired at shelf cone 05, 06. It's a beautiful charcoal gray. But here's the very same glaze on a stoneware body fired to cone 6. It becomes much richer. It brings out some of the blues that you don't see that are just subtly there at 06. So many of the cone 06 firings will change a lot. So be prepared for that. Now, one of the nice things that Mayco has done for you as an artist, if you look at the side of our labels, we will always give you a cone 6 result. So we test all of our low fire glazes at cone 6, and then we share that information with you right on the label. So it gives you kind of a general idea of what you're shooting for. So I hope you enjoyed our element presentation and get a little taste of the exciting, beautiful effects that elements can give you along with our other glazes, as well as a standalone product. So it's always interesting, it's always a little bit exotic. So go forth and enjoy those elements.